Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. So today we're going to talk about the Blood Death Knight in the PvE guide. So we're going to talk about the stats that the Blood Death Knight are needing, the talents and the rotation. So if you're interested in learning how to play a Blood Death Knight in PvE, so dungeons, raid, mythics, well, this is the guide for you. I'm going through stats again, talents and rotation on how you actually play Blood Death Knight, and of course this is what I feel you should play like, and of course then you can build on and maybe have some other opinions, but that's makes us all different, so that's perfect. So let's go through it and let me show you how I feel like you should play Blood Death Knight, and of course maybe you have comments to it. So first of all, let's go through the stats. So the most important stat for a Blood Death Knight is of course strength. So strength is the stat that is most important for a Death Knight, and now you probably say, why is that? I mean, everyone knows that strength is the most important for Death Knights. But if you get to choose between a trinket that has strength or maybe mastery, then you will take trinket with strength, because strength is going to give you so much more of overall. They have made the primary stats in this game so much more important, so that's basically what you want. But that's just your main stat, so enough about that. So the second stat that's the most important is versatility. I hate that word. So down here, versatility. So it increases the damage and the healing you're doing, and it decreases the damage you're taking. This is perfect for Blood Death Knight, because Blood Death Knights are reliable on shields and self-healing. So this means you will be dealing more damage, you will be healing yourself more. What's not to like? I mean, that's just the perfect Blood Death Knight tank. So versatility is the perfect trait stat for a Blood Death Knight. Boom. So after versatility it's haste, and haste is because it increases the attack speed and the rune generation. The more runes, the more damage, the more healing. So more runes, more damage, more healing. Boom. So first of all, strength, strength, versatility, haste. Those three are so important for playing Blood Death Knight. Then after haste, it's mastery. So mastery it's kind of just increasing, well, you can see here, mastery. Each time you heal yourself a death strike, you gain 29% of the base amount healed as physical damage absorption shield. Also it increases your attack's power. So that means every time you do death strike for healing, you get 29% of that healing as a shield. And that's of course nice, but in all you still want first versatility and haste, and then mastery as number 3, or with strength you can say number 4. So after mastery, of course, critical strike is the last one. Critical strike is not really needed for Blood Death Knights. Of course, it's a nice thing to have if you really just get it and you just need to take it. I mean, everyone likes to crit, but that's how it is. It's not the most important thing. So strength, versatility, haste, mastery, critical strike. Boom. You can also see over there on the screen that I'm trying to highlight it for you. Thank you so much. So that's the stats. Let's go through the talents. So the talents. So the first row here for 56, it's a weird row, I know. Normally it's 15, but you know we're playing Death Knight. That's the Death Knight life. So first of all, Rune Strike. I would personally say never use it, because it's going to kind of go into your rotation and ruin your normal rotation. So I would say Rune Strike is not worth at all, so just keep it out and don't take it. Blood Drinker is the normally one I would say always go with. It's perfect damage, it's dealing really much damage, and I mean that only helps you as a tank. And also it heals, of course, because you're draining, so but it's a really cool cooldown, and it deals so much damage and heals so much, so it's a lovely cooldown. But in a mythic dungeon where you play against a lot of trash mobs, Heartbreaker can actually be really good, because when, let's say here, normally when you use Heartstrike you only hit your target and one other, but when you stand inside Rune of Decay you actually hit up to what is it called, up to 5 targets, the 1 normal, additional and 3 additionals. That means this one here says Heartstrike generate 2 additional runic power per target hit. So that means you can actually hit 5 targets. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 runic power. That's pretty much. So every time you spam Heartstrike, well, you get 10 runic power. That means you only need to use Heartstrike 4 times and you have a free Death Strike. I mean, what's really not to like on that? But again, that's only good on mythic dungeons where you have a lot of trash mobs. But else, I would always say Blood Drinker is the main one here, and it's a go-to almost no matter what. The next row down here, it's called Hemostasis, is really the meta again here. Rapid decomposition consumption is not really good. They are really underpowered at the moment, so Hemostasis is really the one you want to play with. So each time enemy hit by Blood Boil increases damage and healing done by the next Death Strike by 8, stacking up to 5 times. The passive you're getting from this is so good, so you basically need it. And consumption with the extra spell you get, and rapid with the, well, the fast, well, your blood, plague and death decay deals 50% more often damage. It's not worth for the damage buff you will get on this one here, because it increases damage and the healing you're getting from Death Strike, and that's pretty much a meta, I would say. So Blood Drinker, Hemostasis is kind of a big deal here. The next one, again here down, and again, for sounding boring, was this name, Osurari, is kind of a big guy here. It's the meta again down here, so it's middle. So Osurari is really important. While you have at least 5 bone shield charges, the cost of Death Strike reduced by 5. That means you now only have Death Strike cost 40. That means you only need to use 4 Heart Strikes, well, if you use Heartbreaker. But I mean, still, it makes Death Strike much more easier to use. And also, you have maximum of 10 extra runic power. I mean, that's pretty cool in some way. You probably will never get up there, but it still makes it more able for you that you can stack more runic power for emergency situations. So that means you know soon you will be getting high damage and you want to cap or save some runic power for when the damage is coming, and now you're allowed to store 10 additional power over time. That's pretty good after me, what I think. Full Bulwark can also be overall pretty good because it increases the health you get for each charge of bone. But overall, the statistic Osurari will in total benefit you more, sorry to say, and Tombstone is not really worth at all. On the next row here, Will of Necropolis should be also the meta on this row here, because every time, well, damage taken below 35 health is reduced by 35. This is a big deal. That means when you get below 35, you are nearly impossible to kill. I mean, you get so much reduced damage that you really are hard to kill. Anti-magic barrier, it reduces the cooldown of the spell and increases the duration and amount of sword by 30. So that means if you know, okay, in this dungeon here we will be getting much damage from spells, it can help you, but in overall situations, Will of Necropolis is an overall passively best spell. but anti-magic barrier can also be really good in a very spell oriented game phase, but in total, Will of Necropolis for most situations is the meta. Rune Tap is really only needed if you know, okay, we have a situation here where I need some more reduced damage, or else my healer cannot follow and I will need to use it, or else I will die. Then Rune Tap can be really good, else Will of Necropolis still is the meta. The next row here is pretty much up to you. If you want to have movement speed, well, Death and Decay reduce the movement speed of enemies within 10 its area by 90, decaying by 10 every second. So if you want to have Death and Decay more slow, or if you want to have your mass pool, Gorefine Grasp, lower cooldown, or if you want to have some speed. Personally, in a Mythic Dungeon I would probably play with Tightening Grasp because I want to be able to use Gorefine Grasp even more. But I know a lot of people in Mythic Dungeon is playing with Grip of the Dead because it's slowing down all the enemies and somehow people can run away from enemies then. I don't know, I mean, if the tank is just, well, the tank could probably pull a lot of mobs and use it and run away so he can kind of run away from it while they're slowed. But personally I would use Tightening Grasp, but I know a lot of people is using Grip of the Dead also. But this row here is kind of up to you. So the next row here, Bloodworms, is actually the meta again here, again in the middle. Bloodworms is, well, the damage and the healing they are giving you is a really nice passive damage and healing. So Bloodworms is 100% the most attracted here. The healing you're getting from Deathstrike here is, it has a much more big potential to overhealing. That means it will heal you when you already have maximum health. Because normally when you use Deathstrike, it's to come up to full health. So you can kind of help your healer to get up to full health. And with this talent here, you're pretty much just healing after you use Deathstrike, and you're probably already on full health. So, and it's not increasing your damage, and Bloodworms is increasing your damage and your healing. So Bloodworms is a better one than Rushes. Mark of the Blood is not really being used, I would say, so just cross over that one. So again, Bloodworms. The next one here, Red First, is the, you can say, the meta one here also. Purgatory, I know it sounds nice that when you're close to die you will kind of be saved, but Red First is better if you're using it correctly, because it reduces the cooldown of your vampiric blood by 1 second per 10 runic power spent. But that's really cool, because right now my vampiric blood only have 1.5 minute cooldown. That means, okay, now I use runic power, boom 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 boom, and you actually reduce the cooldown and it's pretty much ready again for next pull. That means every pull you can pretty much have 30% health increased, and all the healing and absorb received by 30 also. That's pretty much. And if you can have that cooldown up all the time because of this talent, that makes you pretty much immortal. Bone Storm can actually also be very good. On trash mobs, let's say a big group of trash mobs, if you use Bone Storm with 100 runic power, you're pretty much immortal in those 10 seconds. It deals so much damage, it heals so much, so on a big trash mob, when you use Bone Storm, you're pretty much immortal. You cannot die in those 10 seconds. But of course on a boss, and you use it, it still deals a lot of damage. But on a single target boss, you probably even want to use Deathstrike instead. So Bone Storm would be a nice spell in a Mythic Plus dungeon or trash mobs, I can see that, yes, or with a little damage increase. But normally meta, I would always go with Red First, as it increases your survivability with lower cooldown on vampiric blood. So this build you see right now on the screen will be the one that I will primarily use for almost everything. If I wanted to go into Mythic Dungeon and really do some nice AoE damage and benefit from a lot of trash mobs in a Mythic Dungeon, I would probably go with Bone Storm and Heartbreaker. But in a raid or any other scenario, maybe also in a Mythic Dungeon, I will probably go with Bloodbringer and red first. So this is the main meta build I would always say go with. Good. Okay, so let's go to the rotation. So first of all, when you're using your rotation, you're playing, of course you want to start with pulling an enemy. So of course the first thing you could do would be use Div Grip to kind of start the fight and start the aggro. You could do that and it will increase your threat. So the time you're using, it's very important, the time you're using from running from point A to point B, you actually want to use some spells first. So first of all, when you're closing, you could either use Div Grip to kind of start the fight and saying, hey, go to me. After that, you would actually like to use Dancing Rune Weapon, because Dancing Rune Weapon is using a global cooldown, so you don't want to waste it while you're actually standing over the boss. You want to use it now, and then you have your Dancing Rune Weapon ready, and while you're running toward the boss with using Dancing Rune Weapon, you'll use Bloodbringer to get over to the boss. So this is actually what you're doing from when you're standing here together with your raid. You're popping up your Dancing Rune Weapon and Bloodbringer. You can actually also you can use Bloodbringer first, and when you are close to the boss, when you are like 1 feet away from him, use your Dancing Rune Weapon, and then you're ready to go. So just reminding you on how the opener should be. You're standing here, use your Bloodbringer, run toward him, and now use your Dancing Rune Weapon, if I had it ready, and then you're pretty much ready to go. So let's wait for the Dancing Rune Weapon is ready. So again, when you're standing here, use Bloodbringer, drink. When you're just so close to him, use your your Dancing Rune Weapon, and now when you're close to him, use your Marrow End, so you get your shields pop up. So only 2 times, because your Dancing Rune Weapon is actually helping you. So every time you use Dancing Rune Weapon, every time you use Marrow End, you actually get 3 charges of Bone Shield. But when you have active Dancing Rune Weapon, you get 6 charges. So only use Marrow End 2 times, because it will give you to the maximum of your stacks. So now you're standing here and you have maximum of your Bone Shields. If you don't really need any health right now, you would probably save your Death Strike till you actually get some damage, and you will start with doing Blood Boil. Only use Blood Boil if there's actually any enemies that doesn't have your debuff on. Right now I have no enemies here with my debuff, so I will be using my debuff. Now my Bone Shield is going off, and I have to use 1 more Marrow End to keep them up. So you're only going to use Marrow End again if you get below 10 charges, or if you can say the timer on the 30 seconds is running out. So keep it up all the time, and every time the debuff on the trash mob is going off, use Blood Boil, so it's ready again to be used. And now you can see this is pretty much the easy thing you have to do. Keep off your Bone Shields all the time, use Blood Boil every time it's going off cooldown, and from here the important things are now. So now you can see I'm capped in my runes. That means I will now be using my Death Strike, so I get this shield here, and as you can see I just used it 2 times. That means my shield actually gets doubled, and I can use it again. So that means I can actually use Death Strike 3 times in a row, and now I have a shield that is 3 times stacking up. So that means right now it's, I think it said 30k. It said 30k absorbing. But again, you should only use Death Strike if you actually miss health, or if you actually add in rune powers. You can say rune power maximum. So let's take again from scratch. So here it is, running through to him. Blood drinking, rune weapon, marrow, blood boil, hard strike, death strike. So I hope it makes sense with when you're running toward your enemy, use the blood drinker while you run over to him. Use your dancing rune weapon when you're close to him, so you only need to use 2 times marrow rend for having full shields. Then you want to use blood boil, and it's important you use it while dancing rune weapon is there, because then you will give him 2 debuffs on the same time, and both debuffs will heal you, so it's really perfect. Then when you have full charges of marrow rend, you have your debuff on the target, you just want to use hard strike as a filler. So that means, again here, getting all my stacks. Let's imagine I have all my stacks now. Keep up my debuff on the target, and just use hard strike every time I don't have anything else to do. And then when I get to the cap of my rune power, use death strike, and of course also use death strike if you're getting low and you need to heal yourself or make a shield. So again, let's take it. Running toward him, using blood drinker, using my dancing rune weapon, marrow charge 2 times, blood boil, hard strike, could use death strike, hard strike. And then you're kind of just following that rotation. Keep up your shield all the time, keep up the debuff on the target, spam hard strike when nothing else to use, use death strike if you need healing, or if you know you're getting, well, if you're getting the rune power cap. And also, if there's a lot of trash mobs, it would be good to cast Death and Decay. And you have your Gorefine Grasp that will pull all the targets together, so they're standing inside it. You also have a stun, Asphyxiate, and how it spells. You also have for ranged target a debuff, so instead of Blood Boil, that's only putting a debuff off on you can see this location here, you can actually use this one here called Death Caress. So I can put off my debuff on all these targets from a long distance. This can also be needy, but the problem is that it's costing a rune, and you want to save your runes on hard strike. So that's why I'm not using it when I'm actually pulling the mobs or the boss. I want to use Blood Drinker because it deals so much damage as a starter, and it's already then ready after 30 seconds. So let's take it from the scratch again. Okay, Blood Drinker, Rune Weapon, Marrow, Blood Boil, Hard Strike, Death Strike, Death Strike. That's pretty much it. Remember, you have your cooldown Vampiric Blood that increases your maximum health by 30, the healing received and absorbs by 30. It's a really good spell buff. I was thinking talent because I read first. So when you know, okay, I'm going to take high damage or you're close to die, use it, because it will save your butt. Yeah, I think that was pretty much the most important thing. And also, of course, remember to enchant your weapon with Stone Skin Gargoyle. I have seen a lot of Death Knights forgetting to enchant their weapon with this. It's like, do you know you get 5% more ammo and stats? It's pretty important, I would say. So, this was my Blood DK guide. I hope you enjoyed it. We have gone through the stats, the talents, the rotation. You should now be able to pull, tank, and hold a boss, and survive on yourself. So leave down a comment. Did you enjoy this guide? Do you have any questions? Did I forget to talk about anything? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So thanks guys for watching. Have a great evening.